Hey guys, how you doing? For those of you who fast, I hope your fast was good and profound, meaningful. And for those who didn't, I hope you enjoyed your cake. So, because of Tisha B'Av yesterday, we weren't in a position to do any study. So I thought I'd do you a little bonus grammar, for for those of you who want it. So I'm going to just do a little bit more on the binyanim because this is a really tricky concept, but once we got the hang of it, it's actually really super useful. So what I'm going to do is take you through a few of these stages of the binyanim, take a couple of words and show you through, and you can just kind of see how it plays out. It's one of those things where it's not like you just get it and immediately it clicks. It's like you kind of need to be reintroduced to it a few different times. So the idea is with English, we're so used to English, we think it's easier, but it's way harder than what we're working with in Hebrew. It's just that the Hebrew bit is new, right? So in English, what happens is we have about 4 different grammatical roots. We have the Germanic, the Romance, which manifests in Italian, Spanish, French, all these words that come in. We have the Greek. And we also have the the Celtic and the mixture of all the different tribes, I think. And we've got words from all these things. Like, for example, the word for dog in German is Hund, which is like hound in English. But we also have dog. And dog is an old like Sassenach word, which it doesn't show up in any other languages anymore. So, you look at the word for dog in French and it's chien. And, we don't have anything like that, but we have other words like, impossible, or in Italian, is impossibile. So, we have some words which are almost identical to the Italian or the Spanish or the French or whatever, and then we have other words which have got no bearing on them whatsoever. So English is really a hodgepodge. But the really nice thing about Hebrew is all of the roots are Semitic. All of the roots come from one place, and it's weirdly regular. So once you get the hang of this pattern, it's like it takes a large threshold to get the hang of it, but once you've got it, it just flies forward. Okay, and there are occasionally things which don't make sense, but nowhere near as much as English. I mean, try explaining why you should spell through and trough the way we do to a non-English speaker. Okay, so here we go. What we do is we start with a 3-letter verb shoresh, a 3-letter verb root, which you guys are familiar with already. And the simplest version of this is the pa'al. This is the simple active. This is, I do. Okay. For a moment, put a pause on the I did, we did. Just the idea of do. Sorry, my phone is buzzing away. For some reason, whenever I start recording, it starts buzzing. Okay, so let's take the word to do. The most simple version of the word to do is asa. So what we want to do is we want to take ayin, sin, hey, right? And then go and find that root. Okay, so this is to do. And in this version of the word, there's a couple here that don't come from the same root, but we have asa, which is to make or do, the pa'al. We have the pal, which is to cause something. Why? Because the pal is it's the intensive. Okay, so already it's breaking from the pattern. So we have this. Let's start with the pa'al for asa. Okay, so we'll go into asa. And with this root starts, the asa, we find which version of this word, who's doing it, when they're doing it. Well, the one that's most close to the pa'al is asa, he did. Okay, so in any of the versions of this verb, the one that gives its name to the branch is the 3rd person, past tense, masculine or neutral. Okay, so asa. Okay, well, let's go back into a different version of the verb, right? Let's take, for example, the asay or the isa. Okay, so let's take isa, which is the pal, right? And where is the one that's isa? Well, it is the 3rd person masculine past tense, isa. So asa is the 3rd person masculine past tense for the pa'al, and the PL is the third person masculine past tense. So we always start with the third person masculine past tense. Why? Well, past tense verb is simpler because it's completed. We know it's not going to change. We understand how it works. And in Hebrew, it's better to think of things rather than the past tense and the future tense is the complete and the incomplete verb. So in the past, the verb has been completed, right? So it can't change after that point. Whereas the future tense is theoretical. I say I'm going to do this, but maybe it doesn't work out the way I think it's going to do. So there's more variation in the future tense. There's less variation in the past tense. Okay, so why the masculine? Why it's he and not she? Because the masculine is general. It's not really masculine. So it can apply to more people. It can apply to someone who's masculine or someone who's neutral or someone who we don't know whether they're masculine or neutral. So that's simpler because it covers more people. And why the third person? Well, because if I'm talking about what I do, there's an influence on that. If I'm talking about what you do, there's an influence on that. But if you and I are talking about a third person, that's more neutral because it's not weighted. Okay, so think about it in those terms. The simplest thing is the third person past tense neutral version of the verb. Okay, so let's take another example. Let's go back to the list of the possible asa and see where this one starts. Okay, so this is the pu'al, right? Now the pu'al is on the passive side, pu'al, and it's the intensive, it's the equivalent of the PL, right? But this, because it's passive, the focus is not on who's doing the verb, but on who is being done to. So let's look at the definition. Well, the definition is to be forced to do something, okay? Well, the PL was to cause or to force to do, right? But this is to be forced, and that's really the difference between the active and the passive. One is to do, and the other one is to be done to, okay? So now if the pu'al is usa, let's go and have a look, right? In the full conjugation and see what is the third person masculine past tense. Well, where is it? He was forced to do something. Usa. Okay, so now what we realize is we have these different branches, right? And they have different vowels. And they give their vowels to the root, right? And the root is the third person masculine past tense. So in each of these, the third person masculine past tense will be the one that has these vowels. That's our starting point. Okay, well, with that starting point, let's go back to the pa'al and pick another branch of the word. Okay, so we go to the pa'al, see the full conjugation. We know that because pa'al is asa, then the he did it is asa. Well, now let's go to the I did it, okay, and see if there's a pattern. So I did is RCT, a CT, okay? So what's the difference? Well, we have asa, which is the root, ayin, sin, hey, but this is ayin, sin, yod, taf, yod. Okay, so the important part of this is the taf, yod, okay? So if you start with asa and you do I did it in the past, then you get a CT. So let's take a different branch and compare that again, okay? So let's go to the PL, right? And view full conjugation. So now the PL, right, in the third person masculine past tense gives us Isa. Instead of Osa, it's Isa because it's PL, right? Now let's go to the third person masculine, the first person past tense, the I did it, ECT. So what we know now is no matter what you start from, if you go to the first person past tense, you get taf, yod on the end. Let's see that in the pu'al. So what we do really is the branch is telling us our starting point, right? But then each of the versions of this verb have the same endings added onto. So the third person masculine past tense for the pu'al is usa, pu'al, usa, takes the vowels from the branch. Then we go first person past tense, useti, we have the taf yod on the end. So whenever you see taf yod, it is past tense and it is first person. Whoever is speaking, they're the first person. I did it. But this is I was forced to do. Why? Because the pu'al is the passive intensive. So I was forced. So the PL is the intensive I forced, and the pu'al is the intensive passive I was forced. And how do you know it's past tense? First person, because it has T on the end. Now, let's apply that to another verb, okay? Just to follow the logic through, okay? So to start with, what do you like? What's a verb you like? Well, the most common one we've been dealing with is to say. So v'yomer is he said. Why? Because aleph, mem, resh, amar is the root. Okay, so let's go. Amar. And what do we get? We get, I'm going to click on this root here and it's going to give us all the versions of the word. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different versions of the word. We have the pa'al, the hiphil, and the nifal. They're the only ones we have on the branch of the binyanim. Originally, maybe we had more, but they fell out of usage. And then we have adjectives and nouns that have come from it, right? Now, what you do is you start with one of the versions and you change the conjugation, you get a noun instead of a verb. We'll come back to that another day. We're just focusing on the verbs today. So to start with, let's take the amar pa'al. Okay, so first thing we've got to do, go to the third person, masculine past tense. And what do we get? We get amar. This is the same vowels as the pa'al, amar. And if we go to the third person, the first person past tense, amarti, the taf yod says it's past tense first person. Okay, let's look at a different one. And we'll go to the hiphil, right? Now, because it's a hiphil, we're expecting to get different letters, right? So let's go to the third person masculine past tense. Of the hiphil, we get he'emir. Hiphil, he'emir. So we've gained the hey at the beginning and we've gained the yod here. Okay, so it's taken the hey from hiphil and it's taken the yod from hiphil, right? Hiphil, hey, and a yod. Okay, he'emir. So what is the first person? He'emarti, taf yod. First person, past tense. This is what always happens. Okay, let's do this one more time. So what we're saying is we're learning these pattern, nifal. Okay, so we're expecting to gain, because it's a nifal, we're expecting to gain the nun at the beginning. Okay, I clicked on the wrong thing, so let's go in here. And we go third person, masculine, past tense. The nifal is ne'emar. He was said. He was said to, or, he can also be it. It was said. Verily, it was said that something, something, something. So ne'emar is that. So what if it's the first person? I was said is ne'emarti, taf yod. You see the pattern. The first stage is, depending on the branch, you get the vowels and you get the start point. The start point is always the he did it in the past tense. Then you add letters on to tell you which one's which. So, just to complete this, let's look at a different branch. Well, the U masculine is ata, and the U feminine is at. So, ata ne'emar ta, at ne'emart. Let's go back to the pa'al, right? We're expecting to get the ta and the t at the end. So, the root is amar, the you did it is amarta, ata amarta, and amart at amart, same pattern. Start with the root and then add the ending, which tells you who did it. Okay, let's take another example. Let's take the nifal, right? Okay, so the root is ne'emar, and then what if it's you did it? Ata ne'emarta. And at ne'emart. This is the pattern we're learning. So that means you can take any root and you can predict. So for example, if we take a kal, which is to eat, aleph, chaf, lamed, and you can already start to predict that if it's the pa'al, let's see the pa'al to start with. You know that the pa'al is going to match the vowels of the pa'al. Okay, so akal is the he did it. So akal means he ate, right? What about the I ate? Akalti. What about ata? You ate. Akar akalta. What about the at? At akalt. So now we've seen four versions of the word. We have the root, the third person masculine past tense is just the name of the branch, the vowels of the branch, right? And only three letters. Then if we take that, we make it I did it, then we have taf yod on the end. If it's you did it, it's taf with a vowel, so ta. And if it's feminine, you did it to a woman, it's the taf without a vowel, a cult. Okay, I hope that's helpful. We'll build on that and we'll take it a little bit further, but that's basically what's happening. You start off with the branch and with its vowels and possibly its extra letters in the case of a branch that has extra letters. So you mimic the pattern that's happened to these words here. And then to tell you whether it's future tense, past tense, masculine, neutral, or feminine, whether it's singular or masculine, like a whole group is doing it, you change the letters that are added on to tell you who's doing it. That is the pattern. That's what we're looking at. And we're going to continue to look at different verbs under different conditions. And eventually we'll become so familiar. I mean, probably already the taf yod on the end, you're already familiar with that being I did it in the past. Probably at least half of you have noticed that the ta is a ta, something, something ta, and at something, something t, right? But we're going to learn more. Also, you've seen that in the case of v'yomer, the yamar, the yod is masculine or neutral future tense, but you put a vav on, it becomes past tense. You've noticed that the taf is the feminine version of the feminine future tense, but you put a vav and it flips into the past. There's also the aleph, right, which is the first person future tense. Let's take an example of that. Okay, so let's take one that doesn't start with an aleph because that's slightly simpler. Let's take a root that doesn't start with an aleph. Because I mean, it works with the aleph as well, but it's just slightly simpler if we start with a consonant, right, a true consonant. So let's take katav, which is to write. So chaf, taf, vet is to write, katav or katuba or kotev. Okay, so let's take the pa'al, simplest one. Okay, and let's see if the pattern, just to finish off. Okay, so katav, the he did it, katav, same vowels as the pa'al, right? The I did it, katav ti, we've added up with a taf yod on the end. The you did it, katav ta, a ta, katav ta. The you feminine did it, at katavt, at katavt. Now, what about the future? Well, this is the one we're going to become familiar with next. So if he will do it, you get a yod on the end. Yiktov, yiktov. Who yiktov? He will write. What about she? He tiktov. She will write. What about I? I will write. Where's I? Ektov. So the aleph is short for ani. So the idea is, I'll make this yod green, I'll make this taf green, and I'll make this aleph green. So when you get a green letter on the beginning, it's telling you who will do it. And if there's a vav, it flips into the past. What about if we will do it? Where's the we? We will do it niktav. So there's two reasons why a nun might be at the beginning of a verb. If it is nifal and it's passive, right? Or if it's we will do it. Anachnu, we, anachnu niktov, we will write. I think that's enough of a burst of grammar for now. Thank you very much for your time. Lovely people. I'm sorry I missed you yesterday. Looking forward very much to seeing you next Sunday. Bye.